I want to look at one more common risk around hidden APIs. And it doesn't translate very well to video, but I'm doing air quotes around hidden. Because clearly, as you've seen in the last couple of clips, and as you're about to see again now, hidden is often not hidden at all. One thing we often find with APIs is that when you find one endpoint, say the API that we saw earlier in this module to get the details of a specific supercar, when you find one, there are very frequently others that exist on the same website. So at the start of this module, I talked about the Westfield car park app, and I mentioned that after discovering the API that disclosed the number plates, it was also very trivial to discover the control system management for the car park. In fact, it was so trivial, it just simply existed at the root of the host. Take off the path in the query, and hey, there's the control system. The developers didn't think anybody would find it because it was sitting there on an IP address and it had a robots.txt file saying that search engines shouldn't index it. But clearly, that is a very insufficient security control. So here's what I want to show you. It's very easy to find unsecured APIs just via a simple Google search. Let me show you what I mean. We're going to search for inurl.asmx. So it's going to look for the file extension of .asmx. And just to be really explicit about it, we're also going to specify file type ASMX. And as you can see from the autocomplete here, clearly this is something that I have done before. Let's take a look at the results. Now, one thing I want to make clear here is that many of these results may indeed be intended to be public. There's probably nothing wrong with, say, the global weather service that we'll look at in a moment being public. But there are also very frequently results which are not intended to appear in public Google searches. There are other ways you can structure these searches that certainly return many more results of much more sensitive data, but this one's a pretty good balance for this sort of course. So let me give you an example of what I mean by disclosure of APIs via Google. We'll drill down into this global weather web service. It's a .asmx file, it's an ASP.NET web service, and that's a typical pattern from the days before Web API, which is what we were just looking at in the earlier clip via the help documentation page. So ASMX is actually quite prevalent on the web. Now this is another means of service documentation. So again, very similar to that earlier Web API help page. And in fact, we can see here we've got two services, Get Cities by Country and Get Weather. We'll take a look at the Get Weather service. And I'm assuming this is meant to be public because certainly it seems like a pretty innocuous service. It's not exactly get all users. And we'll plug in, say, Sydney. And of course, Australia. Let's run that service. Now this is going to be a pretty predictable result. And in fact, here we go. We get an XML result with the weather in Sydney. Now none of that should be too surprising. But the point I want to make here is that via Google, many of these services that are publicly accessible, often not by design, can easily be located and services executed. It's amazingly convenient. These ASMXs, as well as things like web service definition languages, which are more cross-cutting across other frameworks as well, are easily locatable, and they're great directories of the services. So that's another really easy way of finding sensitive information that shouldn't be just standing out there publicly facing. This one's innocuous. Many of them are much, much more sensitive.